You're listening to
the Beer O'Clock, the Beer O'Clock Show.
You're listening to the Beer O'Clock Show.
It's Beer O'Clock and this is the Beer O'Clock Show, back from our little break with a new season, Season 10. My name is Mark, and joining me, as always, is my beer buddy, Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hi, Mark. How you doing?
All right, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Very good. This season, we're doing something we've discussed doing for a while, haven't we, Steve?
We have, yes. Quite excited about this.
Yeah, and that's getting listeners and friends of the show in, letting them choose the beers, and reviewing the beers with them on the show. And our first guest of the season is a long-time friend and a man with a Twitter handle that just rolls off the tongue. It's at MJPO007, Martin Oates. Hello, Martin.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Martin.
How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad at all.
Very good. Welcome to the Beer O'Clock Show. I believe you've listened to it a couple of times.
Yeah, on the odd occasion.
So you've chosen two beers for us this week, both from Fourpure, and since you know me so well, you've chosen two hoppy beers, you bastard.
I did avoid a barrel-aged one, though.
Thank you, sir. So we've got Assessment IPA coming up and ShapeShifter, their American IPA. But before we get to those, Steve, what have you been drinking over the last couple of months, mate, since we've been on break?
Well, the list is long and distinguished, mate. I'll narrow it down to just one event that I went to, I think, which was on a bit of a whim. I decided to go to the Copenhagen beer celebration.
Oh yeah,
which was very last minute indeed, and that was kind of a whirlwind 24 hours in Copenhagen. But I got to try some incredible beers. I got to visit some great places, and most of all, I just got to have a really good time with a load of friends that I met up with out there. So friends of the show and people that just got to know through doing this, and it was just a great 24 hours. The real highlight for me, I think, was probably going to the Pigs Brew Pub, which was just one of those places what just had to be ticked off the list. And when you walk in and you think to yourself, I'm going to have something nice and easy to start with today, and there's nothing on the board below 6.5%, you know it's not going to be an easy day. So that was a pretty incredible weekend, actually. What about yourself, mate? You've been off to Australia, and have you been supping all the beers?
Yeah, so I went back home for a couple of weeks and then spent 4 days in Singapore. So I had all these plans of visiting all these beer places in Brisbane and, doing the whole thing. But then I decided, no, fuck it, I'm just going to stay with family and just drink beer that I can buy in shops. So I did that. And, the beer scene in Australia that at least you can find they've got this big chain of bottle shops called Dan Murphy's, which is like a nationwide off license, basically. And they get a decent craft range, so I got a few nice ones from that. But I didn't go too crazy. And in Singapore, I avoided the beer because it's fucking expensive in Singapore.
Didn't you pay like a tenner for a pint of Guinness last time you were there?
I did, yeah. But they've got this little a microbrewery that has a few restaurants around the island called Brewworks. And there was one right near our hotel, so I went there, and they've got this really interesting thing where the prices scale depending on the time of day. So as you get later into the evening, that's when the beer's really expensive, which is, of course, is the time of day that we went. But they had a nice sampler of their 4 core beers, which, as you expect, it's a pale, an IPA, a golden, and a stout. And they were all pretty decent beers, and the food was good as well. But you are paying, if you were going to go for a pint, you'd be paying 7-8 quid.
Jeez.
For a pint, even for a 3% golden, but that's Singapore. But that was all right. Nothing too exciting. Martin, what have you been drinking lately, mate? That's of note.
Well, I took up one of your suggestions, guys. I tried the Neopolitan Pale Ale for Northern Monk and Little Leeds Beer House, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
I don't really know how they managed it. But to get those flavours come out in one glass is pretty stunning, I have to admit.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to I went to a beer festival on Sunday, just a local, well, not local to me, but local to Bracknell, just a one-day festival at the local rugby club, where Andy Parker, who I know that you two are fans of, had a couple of his beers on, and tried both of them, and they both turned out to be the judges' beer of the day and also the punters' beer of the day.
Wow.
So the my favourite one from him was the Starship Fleet, which I think was the first one he actually commercially released. And I have to admit, as a golden 4.2% session beer, he packed a punch with it.
Yeah, Andy knows how to do the classics. Doesn't
Yeah.
he?
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to be in Copenhagen with Andy the night that first beer released in his local pub, and to say it was like sitting next to the most chuffed person in the world ever is an understatement. The guy was a bag of emotions, and I was just so pleased to be sharing that moment with him, because I think like many people on Twitter, we've all kind of travelled this path with Andy.
Yeah.
In terms of him getting to commercial brewery, and it's great to see that his beers are getting the recognition that they duly just deserve as well now.
Oh yeah,
Indeed.
definitely agree with that. I mean, I think anyone who can. The other beer was a 3.6% Ruby Mild, and I'm not the biggest lover of milds in the world, but that was a good beer as well. Really solid, really tasty, and you could easily have drunk a few more of them. If it wasn't for the fact there was another 30 beers to try, I would have gone back to them.
got to get all those ticks in, eh, Martin?
It's all about the badges.
I got a couple of badges when I was in Oz. Finally, I got my next level of Australian beers, so I was quite chuffed with that.
Nicely done on home turf as well, mate.
Exactly. So let's get into this week's beers then. Let's kick off the season proper. So, Martin, you've chosen these two beers from Fourpure.
Yep.
Let's crack open the Session IPA first. And while we're doing that, why don't you let us know why you chose this particular brewery and these particular beers?
Okay, well, originally I was just going to do the one beer, the Session IPA. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One is that when I first visited the brewery and tap room in May 2014, doing the obligatory Bermondsey Beer Mile, I simply fell in love with the brewery and the tap room. I'm not entirely certain why. I've got a feeling it's just because it was a stocked pile of cans. There was just all these cans all over the place, and I'd never actually seen that before. Because usually you see a brewery with lots of metal vessels and doing magic stuff. You see maybe some bottles. But suddenly you go in and there was just stacks upon stacks of these brightly coloured blue, yellow, green, black cans. And I thought it just looked wonderful with the stainless steel vessels behind it. They had a nice taproom bar with a map, a global map behind, which sort of gave you a hint of where their beers were inspired from. I mean, they've since redesigned it and moved the tap room about and the bar about, but the principle's still the same. Although now they have a nice big flat screen TV to show all the beers they've got on, and the most recent untapped check-ins as well.
Oh, wow.
So your
Nice touch.
Your little picture comes up in the top right-hand corner.
There's a reason to visit a tap room if ever I've heard one.
Exactly.
To get my place on television.
You get a few flights, you can tap it a lot. You could be the only one up there.
Right, this beer smells lovely though.
It is. I mean, this
lovely, fresh New World hops aromas coming from it.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a bit of a go-to for me. This one, this is now kind of my standard train beer, because you can pick this up in Marks and Spencer at Liverpool Street. Yeah. So if I'm ever fancying a beer for the journey home, this is the one I go to, and I'm thrilled to actually be finally being given the chance to actually review it in more words than train beer.
It's funny you saying that. I think this was my first and only ever proper train beer. Because as you know, Steve, I have an aversion to drinking on public transport.
Well, clearly, yes.
I mean, it is a good train beer, but I actually did that look back through my untapped check-ins for this, and it turns out, apart from saying train beer on a few of them and a few other things, I've actually never written down what I thought about a beer.
Yeah. Oh, right.
So same here. Absolutely the same here. Yeah.
Tonight's the night. So
it is indeed.
Lovely straw yellowy colour. It was decent carbonation on the pour.
I'm going to have to admit I'm doing this straight from the can.
Oh, okay.
Tonight.
So it's blue.
Yeah, just because that's how I drink it. It comes straight out of the can and into my mouth. So what it looks like, mate, is all on you. The description's all down to you.
Well, that's about all I can say about it. So let's get into it.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
Session IPA from Fourpure. Cheers. This is 4.2%, by the way.
I mean, that just slips down so nicely.
It does.
It's so easy and light. It's it feels like it's really well balanced. The carbonation on it's just about perfect. You're getting a lovely. I'm getting a lot of grapefruit from that on the finish. It's kind of a dry finish that leaves a little bit of bitterness in the mouth, but not too much. And I guess in terms of its styling, it being a session IPA, it pretty much does what it says on the tin.
Yeah, it's lovely fresh hops, lovely light toasted bread flavour in there as well with the. But it's just so light.
Yeah, I mean, and you just one gulp is not enough. You know, it's fresh, it's refreshing, and as soon as you finish one, I think, like Steve said, it has got that bit of dryness, but not enough dryness to put you off. And another reason I wanted to pick this beer, because, you know, without having seen the list that you guys have now published, there's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of big beers. There's going to be some beers which are a little bit harder to get hold of, and I'm always a big believer that every beer we drink doesn't have to be, you know, complex and mind-boggling. Sometimes it just has to be good, consistent, and you know exactly what you're going to get. And I think with Fourpure, what they've done over the last couple of years is that whatever beer you order from them, if you've had it before, you're fairly much guaranteed it will taste like it did before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's testament to some of their processes as well. A bit like 5 Points, you know, in North London, who've nailed a core range of beers and now are starting to branch out a bit. I think that's what these guys have done over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I have to agree with that in terms, particularly the consistency comment. Like I say, you know, you can pick a can up of this and you can know it's exactly what it's going to taste like time after time. And again, yeah, to just echo what you're saying there, Martin, in terms of these guys absolutely nailed their core range before they started doing kind of seasonals as well. And I think I'm right in saying that these were one of the first breweries to start canning as well. I think they started canning even before Beavertown.
Yeah, they were canning pretty early, weren't they? Cause
yeah.
They were kind of standing out on the shelves in their little 4-packs with the red tops on them.
Yeah, they sort of started the canned revolution. These guys did.
Yeah, when I was lucky enough to spend a couple of hours with the head brewer John, and a few weeks ago, and they just went straight for cans. You know, as far as they're concerned, like a lot of other people now, and obviously there are still differences of opinion on this, but as far as they were concerned, this was the best way to deliver their product. But they could then, as much as possible, guarantee the end result. So yeah, and certainly, like I said at the start, that's one of the reasons that attracted me to go back to the tap room. Was you just see the cans there. I mean, they've now got a second industrial unit about 100 metres away from where they are, which is where they actually do the canning, and it's a fabulous looking machine. It's a cross between the new Thornbridge bottling plant and an Acme machine where Roadrunner's about to be killed. It looks amazing, really amazing. I mean, but the amount of cans they can do in a short space of time has risen so much. That is all done in a separate one. They've even got the beer is piped from one unit to the next. So there's about 100 metres worth of pipe running along the back, which I saw. And in my head, it just was full of beer, the pipes. Unfortunately, there was no leak.
Yeah. beer piped to your house.
Yeah, well, you know, we've got. It's only a matter of time, Steve. We've got tanked beer.
Yes,
it's only a matter of time.
I want. You know, like you can get those taps in your kitchen now that just give you instant boiling hot water. I want one of those that just gives me instant craft beer, instant cannonball, straight, as fresh as you like, through 400 miles of piping from Huddersfield to my house. I was just going to mention just one thing about the cans. I like the subtle rebrand that they've gone through as well. So it's like Session IPA, it's still the same colour can, but it's now not just a plain can. It's got kind of the images of where I suppose the inspiration for it's come from is on there as well, and I like that.
That's what they've done. They've now got, so I think all of the cans have got the same colour. So the Pils is still red, but the background pictures is of like Bavaria, or probably they're from the Czech Republic. The inspiration behind their Pils comes from that part of the world, so that's made it on there. So for their core range, I think they've got the same colours, but with the inspiration, and then they sort of muck around a bit more when they have their specials and seasonals.
So, any closing thoughts on the? I'm almost done with this beer. Any closing thoughts on this one, guys?
That was going to be my closing thought. I'm almost done on it.
Yeah, I am actually done with it. It's just incredibly drinkable. I really enjoy it, and it's certainly a beer that I never get tired of drinking. For me, it ticks all of the boxes.
Yeah, it's lovely and fresh. Some great flavours in there for the ABV. It's just a really nice beer. Really far too easy. You could pick up a 4-pack of this for a long train journey and work your way through it without getting too bored of it.
Pick up a 4-pack for a short train journey, mate.
Right.
I was also
maybe.
I was trying to find an IPA, but I knew I thought you'd be happy with as well.
I'm always happy with anything that's got, well, almost anything that's got the letters IP and A in it.
Yeah, that's not a guarantee.
No, absolutely not.
So let's move on to the next beer, guys. This is the, what is it, 6.1%? 6.4. It is Fourpure's West Coast IPA called ShapeShifter. Great artwork on this can again. So let's see what this one's like. So what made you choose this one, Martin?
The main reason I chose this one is because it was a fairly new release, and I could really only pick it up when I was at the brewery. So I thought, well, if I'm going to get a 6-pack of the Session IPA, I might as well get a 6-pack of the ShapeShifter as well.
Okay.
And I was curious to see what it was like. I hadn't heard much about it at that point. I've seen a few people comment on it since then who seemed very, very keen on it. So I thought, well, there isn't a Fourpure beer that I've actually disliked, so I thought I'd give this one a go.
Well, it pours out in a colour much like the Session. It's a decent yellowy straw goldy colour.
Probably slightly darker, would you say?
Very slightly darker, yeah.
I mean, what's Steve's like? Is it still in the can?
No, I've actually put this one in a glass. I felt as though this one needed to be in a glass.
I'm not getting huge hop aromas from it, but it might just be too cold. I don't know what you guys are getting.
I'm getting that slight dankness that you sometimes get from the American IPA or from that style.
Yeah.
It's giving way to kind of hints and pine and caramel in the background.
It's quite subdued compared to the Session, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's perhaps more subdued than you would think, bearing in mind we've jumped up just over 2% as well.
Cheers, guys. Let's get into this one, the ShapeShifter.
Cheers.
Well, but before...
Oh.
No, actually, let's get into drinking it.
Okay.
Because we've got a hot topic to talk about as well while we're doing it.
Okay, cool. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, fuck me. Them some big flavours.
Whoa, that's a sharp bitterness to that beer.
Mm.
Quite dry at the end.
Whoa, it's incredibly dry, yeah. That's a big dry finish to it. Really kind of, I'm getting a really lemony finish to that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Just cuts through everything that finish does.
You know you've got a bigger beer now.
Yeah. But, 6.4% is not a huge ABV in the IPA stakes these days.
No, I mean, well, I think we're probably still 1% off Cannonball, Steve.
Yeah. But you're getting some...
Exactly 1%.
No, this is quite a chesty beer.
It is. I don't know about yours, but mine seems to be just... It's lacking the carbonation of the Session IPA.
Yeah.
Yeah, the head's gone on mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was a big head and it died away very quickly. But the flavours in there, it's tropical, it's juicy, and then it's just that finish is just so dry.
And there's a bit more body coming through from the malt as well compared to the session. You can tell it's a beefier beer. Not entirely too much. I mean, big surprise to listeners, but the session IPA is more to my taste. But it's a decent IPA, this one. Steve.
Yes, mate.
Have you been rustling anyone's jimmies on Twitter with this week's hot topic?
I've been continuing to ruffle some feathers while I've been off air as well, because I quite liked playing with Hot Topic. So we've had some silly ones and we've had some serious ones as well while I've been off. But this week's one is really in honour of our guest. Because this was a suggestion that Martin made ages ago, and it's a constant source of amusement when we're out drinking together as well. So this week's hot topic was I was simply asking about quarter marks on Untapped,
right?
And the two options were great or what. So unsurprisingly, 67% of the voting public went for they're great. And I'm just going to read out just a few of the tweets as normal. So Mike Warwick at Welsh Mike would have rather had them increase the top score to 10 so that the ratings were out of 10 rather than introducing the quarter marks. John Rogers at JM Rogers 2000 makes no difference at all. Untapped is not a good reference point due to the wild ratings. Clayton Chisholm at Clayfish, quarters are perfect. How else do you show that a beer is better than 4 but not quite 4.5? Lou on Brew at Lou on Brew, I would have liked the 0.25s if they'd been there since the start, but not after 12 months of scoring. And then finally, number one fan Miles Lambert, it's great. Finally lets me show the world the difference between a 3.5 and a 3.75. So seemingly the public are in favour of the quarter marks on Untapped. I'm going to go straight to Martin for his view on this one before asking you for yours and sharing mine. Martin, I know what your views are on this, but for our listeners, what do you think of the quarter mark system on Untapped?
Oh, I love them. I mean, I did. I mean, I'm a bit OCD and very stats based, and probably another reason why I like the Fourpure cans is because they have stats along the side. You know, they have lots of numbers and information along the side. They even tell you the IBU and how many calories you're consuming. But I actually, you know, when you download the app and you can rate it and make a comment on the App Store, I did actually ask them once, could we have quarter marks? And they said, as far as they were concerned, they had enough because you had 1, 1.5, etc. And then lo and behold, they do turn up with the quarter marks. And I have to admit, especially when I'm out with you, Steve, I do tend to use the quarter marks a lot more. But I do like the way it differentiates between, say, my 3.25s, which are beers that I don't mind and I don't hate, but I probably wouldn't rush to revisit. Whereas anything 3.5 and above is when I start thinking, oh, I wouldn't mind those again. But, you know, we all rate our big beers quite heavily. So they're the ones which go over the 4 mark. They're not always the ones you'll go back to. So it's like my 3.5s and my 3.75s are almost like my go-to or session beers.
Okay.
Mark, what are your views on this one?
When did they introduce the quarter marks? I thought they had them for a while.
I think it has been for a while now. It's at least 9 months that they've been in. It might even be
it's
a
like
year
9 months
or
to a year or so.
I like them because if I'm drinking a 3 beer but I'm in a good mood, I can chuck in another quarter just to make the brewery feel good. But to be honest, I don't put that much thought into my ratings. It's really on my mood. So quarter marks are nice. Makes it a little bit more granular.
Well, I'm not a fan of the quarter mark system. It's probably fair to say. I'm quite happy just going with the half mark ratings, and it just makes it easier for me. I'm quite happy to say whether a beer is 3.5 or 4, and if I'm unsure, then I'll mark down rather than mark up. as opposed to, I don't think I've intentionally used the quarter mark system yet. There's been a few accidental drunken finger check-ins.
But couldn't you use the quarter mark as your personal sign that you're unsure of the rating?
No, because that goes against everything that I stand for in terms of using the quarter mark system.
I do remember an occasion, Steve, where this caused you a problem when we went to the Duvel tasting.
It did because one of the 6 Duvels wasn't a 3.5 and it wasn't a 4. And I was literally stood there going, well, now I'm in the shit really here, aren't I? Because I've advocated against the quarter mark system, but now I'm going to have to use it because this beer sits between those two. So there you have it. This week's Hop Topic. Another thing that this week's Hop Topic has told us is that our listeners don't like Hop Topic not on a Sunday. Because the votes were low this week, and over the past few weeks, the Sunday night hot topics are getting some good engagement now. So it will be back on Sunday next week.
That's because Steve. That's because on Sundays we're all going, work tomorrow.
Yeah, you're looking for something to do, and it's filling the void. But
something to moan about.
Yeah, you can still get involved with Hot Topic. Use the hashtag Hot Topic. Have your comments on this week's one, and look out for next week's one when it comes along.
Very good. And we're drinking beers from Fourpure Brewery from London with Martin Oates, and we're currently getting through ShapeShifter, their West Coast IPA, which is 6.4%. I'm struggling a bit with this one after the lovely session IPA. This is a bit too heavy for me.
You know what? So am I, mate. I've got to admit it. It's my preferred style of beer, but I'm struggling with it, and I think the reason why I'm struggling for it is because it's lacking that carbonation of the session. So it's like it's I'm not going to say it's flat, but it's not got as much life as the session IPA had in it.
No, with that heavier malt, you need some carbonation to kind of lift it up.
Yeah, just to bring it up a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I mean, I'm enjoying it, but the session IPA is a beer I would open another can now if I had one, rather than ShapeShifter.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Right, well, that's fairly conclusive then. Put some more bubbles in it, please.
More bubbles.
More bubbles.
Pass the soda stream.
So, Steve, we always do have an Instagram of the week. So, what's the prize winner?
Well, I've had to kind of go back over nearly. Well, I haven't had to go back over a month's worth, but I ended up going back over a month's worth to try and find one that really stood out. And I've worked really hard while you've been off as well, mate, to find a new and improved big box of nothing. So it's bigger and it's got more nothing in it. So it's much more improved for this season. And the first prize of this season goes to a many-time winner. It can only be son of a gun for what is only can be described as an incredible picture of Magic Rock Dark Hearts in a can, and he's buggered around with a picture and done all sorts to it. But that's linked through in the show notes. It's up on our Instagram feed. Congratulations, son of a gun. You are the first winner of the new and improved Big Box of Nothing in the Prizes Prize for Season 10.
Well done, son of a Gervin.
Son of a Gervin. And of course, if you want to enter the Prizes Prize, put your picture up on Instagram, use hashtag cheers, guys. And if it's the one that catches my eye next week, you'll get the new and improved Big Box of Nothing sent to you as well.
Indeedy. And as I said at the top of the show, this is the first episode of Season 10, and as always, we've got a season beer list on the website, so go to Beer O'Clock Show. Fucking hell. Go to beeroclockshow.co.uk, click on the Season 10 beer list link at the top, and you'll see all the beers that are coming up. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guests coming in to drink beer with us, as well as our homebrew specials throughout the season. And we've got links where we can to where these beers are available if you want to drink along with us. Some of them are a bit too special, but others are all readily available. So what's coming up on next week's show, Steve?
Next week we're drinking a beer that if if you've not been able to get it, you're not going to be able to get it in time for next week. It's from Oscar Blues, and it's their coconut porter, which was selected by listener Luke McGlynn. And Luke's going to be joining us on the show to talk about that beer as well. So one that I'm a little bit apprehensive about because I'm not a massive fan of coconut.
Oh, I love coconut.
It's next week's going to be a bit of a challenge for me, mate. Instead of you for a change.
I'm probably going to down that one. I love coconut. And thanks as always to our friends at Ales by Mail, Beautiful Beers, Beer Merchants, Ibria and Hot Burns and Black will all now offer a 10% discount to Beer O'Clock Show listeners on any beers from the website. So go to the Season 10 beer list page again on our website and check out the discount codes. Martin, thanks for these beers, mate.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks for getting them to us, mate. I appreciate that. And thanks for coming on to share them with us.
No, thanks for inviting me.
People may have heard you warbling now and then in the background of Hot Burns and Black shows that we've done, but we've never had you actually on the show before, so it's a great privilege to have you here, mate.
Thank you. I'm always happy to ask a question wearing a Hops, Burn and Black.
I'm glad someone is. Sometimes blood from stone, etc. Right, until next week, Stevie.
Yes, it's been the highlight of my week. That's it. Almost forgot what I was supposed to say there. Very much been the highlight of my week.
And mine, Martin, people can find you on Twitter at MJPO007, is that right?
That is, and I blog under Beer is the Answer.
Very good. So, until next week, bye-bye.